I knew something was wrong before I even reached the driveway. It wasn't logic at first. It was the body. That quiet, animal part of you that notices the air has changed before your mind can label it. The street looked the same, salt-washed pavement, sun throwing sharp shadows, the same row of coastal pines bending slightly as if they were always listening to the ocean. But my shoulders tightened anyway, hard and fast, like my muscles had braced for impact without my permission. My vacation house sits at the end of a short gravel lane. The drive curves just enough that the place stays hidden until you're practically on top of it. That's part of why I loved it: privacy, silence, the sense that you had to choose to reach me. Most times, when I pull in, my whole body drops into relief. I don't even have to think about it. I just feel safe. Not today. The first thing I saw wasn't the porch. It wasn't the sea pines. It wasn't the white siding catching the sun. It was paper. One sheet, taped dead center to the front door as if it were a target. Perfectly placed. Too deliberate to be casual. The kind of placement meant to stop you cold. From the driver's seat I couldn't read the smaller text, but I didn't need to. I saw the bold header immediately. Eviction. I parked crooked. Half on the gravel, half on the edge of the drive. I didn't even kill the engine at first. My hand stayed on the steering wheel, and my eyes locked on that one word like staring harder could make it rearrange itself into something harmless. It didn't. I got out slowly, like my legs belonged to someone else. The porch steps felt too steep. The air felt too bright. I could hear birds and a distant mower and the soft hiss of the ocean wind through needles, ordinary sounds that made everything feel worse, because they didn't match the moment. Up close, the notice looked official in the way scams always try to look official: crisp white paper, heavy black text, a block of paragraphs meant to overwhelm you, a seal stamped in the corner. It had that particular design meant to make you feel small. The kind of paper people obey without thinking. Right under the heading was the next line. Eviction in 14 days. My hands went cold, not nervous cold, not shaky cold. It was a deeper kind of cold, like something vital got switched off. I stared at the date, then at the line beneath it. My name was printed there. Then the phrase that made my stomach drop so sharply I felt it in my knees. Unauthorized occupant. Unauthorized. In my own home. For a second my brain tried to protect me by offering excuses. A prank. A mistake. A neighbor's house. A wrong address. But my address was correct. My name was correct. And the bold letters didn't feel like a joke. They felt like a threat dressed up as procedure. I ripped the notice off the door. The tape tore and left gray smears on the paint, like bruises. My fingers trembled as I scanned the paragraphs, forcing myself to read like a detective instead of a victim. There was a case number. There was a filing date. There was a signature, too smooth, too practiced, like someone had copied it from something else. There was a stamp that looked real enough to scare anyone who didn't know how easily stamps can be faked. And in the plaintiff section, the names hit me like a slap. Not a bank. Not the county. Not some unknown property group. My parents. Gwen Harper and Dale Harper. I stared at their names as if the ink might change if I blinked hard enough. It didn't. It sat there on the page, unbothered, like they belonged. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I didn't do anything dramatic. Because I'd learned, a long time ago, that drama fed them. That if I exploded, they'd frame it as proof I was unstable. That if I begged, they'd treat it like power. That if I panicked, they'd watch like spectators. So I did what survival had taught me to do with them. I treated it like evidence. I took photos of the notice. Wide shot. Close-ups of the seal. Close-ups of the signature. The case number. The date posted. The tape residue on the door like it was a fingerprint. I zoomed in on tiny details, because details were the only way to fight paper with paper. Then I called my mother. She answered on the second ring, cheerful, bright, almost playful. "Hi, sweetheart." Her voice had that practiced warmth, the kind she used when she wanted to sound innocent to the outside world. It used to confuse me when I was younger. It doesn't anymore. "There's an eviction notice on my front door," I said. My voice came out flat. Controlled. "And your name is on it." Silence. Just half a beat. Then she laughed. Not nervous laughter. Not shocked laughter. Amused laughter. The kind that says, "Finally." The kind that says, "You found the trap." "Oh," she said, syrup sweet. "So you saw it. What did you do?" I asked. She exhaled like I'd tired her. "We did what you left us no choice but to do." My jaw tightened. "No choice." "You refused to help with the debt," she said, like it was my fault. "You think you can say no to family and keep your little comforts. You think there are no consequences." Heat rose behind my eyes, but I held my tone steady. "That house is in my name. You can't evict me." Her laughter sharpened. "You'd be surprised what paperwork can do," she said. "Especially when it looks official." My stomach sank. The words landed like a confession. "Did you forge this?" She didn't deny it. She didn't even bother to pretend offended. Instead, she leaned into cruelty like it was easier than lying. "You wanted boundaries," she said. "Congratulations. 14 days. That's a boundary." In the background I heard my father's voice, muffled but pleased, like he was watching a movie where the villain wins. "Tell her she can't hide forever," he said. My mother lowered her voice, almost intimate, like she was speaking into my ear. "Go ahead," she whispered. "Run to the courthouse. They'll tell you it's already filed." Then she hung up. For a moment I stood on my porch with the phone still pressed to my ear, listening to dead air. The world around me kept moving like nothing had happened: sunlight, birds, a neighbor's mower in the distance. Reality didn't pause just because my parents had tried to erase me from my own property. But my body snapped back into motion. I didn't pack. I didn't sit down. I didn't let myself spiral. I got in my car and drove straight to the county courthouse. On the way, my brain tried bargaining again. Maybe it's a scam. Maybe someone made a mistake. Maybe this is fixable in an hour. But my mother's laugh replayed in my head like a warning. "You'd be surprised what paperwork can do." The courthouse smelled like old carpet and disinfectant. The fluorescent lights were unforgiving. The hallway was full of tired people clutching folders like shields. Everyone looked like they'd been fighting something invisible for too long. I walked to the civil clerk window and slid the notice under the glass. "I need to verify this case number," I said, calm and clear. "This was posted on my property today." The clerk was a middle-aged woman with reading glasses and a face that had seen too much to be impressed by anyone's drama. She barely reacted when she saw the word eviction. She just typed, routine clicking of keys, eyes reflecting the screen. Then she paused. Not a casual pause. Not a, "give me a moment," pause. A "something is wrong" pause. Her fingers hovered. She typed again, slower. Her brow tightened. Then she went still. I watched the color drain from her face in a way you can't fake. She leaned closer to the monitor as if getting nearer could change what she was seeing. "What?" I asked, quietly. "What is it?" She didn't answer immediately. She glanced left and right, checking who could hear. Then she reached down and pulled my notice out of sight, like it was dangerous to leave it sitting in public. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "This case is under restricted hold," she said. "Suspected forged documents." My chest tightened. "Forged?" She nodded once, still staring at the screen. Then she looked up at me, and her expression was no longer clerical. "Do you have your keys?" she asked. "Yes," I said, confused. "Go back to the property," she said softly. "Right now." My throat went dry. "Why?" Her eyes didn't blink. "Because if someone filed this," she whispered, "they may already be trying the next step." And then she added, even lower, "Don't go alone." I didn't argue. I didn't ask her to explain the whole system. Her face had already told me enough. I walked out of the courthouse so fast my legs felt disconnected from the rest of my body. In the parking lot I sat in my car with the engine running and forced myself to breathe like I was giving a statement. Slow in, slow out. Panic makes you miss details. Details were the only things standing between me and losing my house on paper. I called the only person I trusted to show up without questions, my friend Elena Ruiz. She lived about 30 minutes away, but she was the kind of person who heard, "I need you," and treated it like an emergency. "Where are you?" she asked the moment she picked up. "I'm going back to the beach house," I said. "Please meet me there. And don't come alone." A beat. Then, "Say less. I'm on my way." Then I called the county sheriff's non-emergency line. I kept my tone measured, because I'd learned that if you sound emotional, some people hear drama instead of danger. I explained the situation, the notice, the courthouse flag, my fear of illegal lockout. The dispatcher took it seriously enough to offer a unit for a welfare/property check. Good. I drove back with both hands locked on the wheel so tightly my fingers ached. And the whole way my mind tried to shrink it again. It's just paper. They can't physically take a house. This will be cleared up. But my mother's laugh sat in my chest like a stone. When I turned onto my street again, the wrong feeling slammed into me even harder. Because this time it wasn't just paper on my door. A moving truck was parked halfway up my gravel drive. 2 cars sat behind it. And on my porch, like she'd been born there, stood my mother with a clipboard and a pen, as if she were managing a job site. My father stood beside her, arms crossed, staring at my house like it already belonged to him. And at my front door, kneeling with a tool bag open, was a locksmith. My stomach dropped so hard my knees went weak. I parked and got out slowly, forcing my voice to stay steady even as my vision sharpened with rage. "What are you doing?" I called. My mother turned her head and smiled like I'd arrived late to a party she'd been hosting. "Oh, good," she said. "You're here. We're just getting everything ready." "Ready?" I repeated, incredulous. "Ready for the transition," she said smoothly. I marched up the drive, eyes locked on the locksmith's hands. "Stop," I said. "Step away from my door." The locksmith looked up, startled. His eyes flicked to my mother, uncertain who had authority. My mother lifted the clipboard as if it were a badge. "I'm handling this," she told him sweetly, then looked back at me. "Don't embarrass yourself. It's already filed." My father's voice was calm and cold. "You're not an authorized occupant. That's what the notice says." I held up my phone. "I'm the owner. I have the deed, the tax records, insurance, everything." My mother gave a small laugh. "And yet," she said, "here we are." She leaned closer, voice dropping just enough to feel like a slap. "You thought refusing our debt had no consequences." I turned back to the locksmith. "Do you have a work order?" I asked him. He hesitated. My mother answered for him. "We do." I didn't look at her. I looked at him. Who signed it? He shifted. The authorized agent, he said. My mother's smile widened. That's right. My pulse pounded. Step away, I said again, louder. Right now. He started to stand, uncertain, when my father stepped forward like a wall. Don't listen to her, he snapped at the locksmith. Finish the job. And then I heard tires crunching on gravel behind me. A patrol car. A deputy stepped out, tall and calm, hand near his belt, eyes scanning the scene in seconds. Moving truck, locksmith, my parents, me, my open tool bag, my door. What's happening? He asked. My mother moved toward him like she'd been waiting. Deputy, she said warmly, clipboard forward. Thank you. We're executing an eviction. She's an unauthorized occupant. The phrase burned in my stomach. I spoke immediately. I'm the owner. That notice is flagged at the courthouse for suspected forgery. They're trying to change my locks. The deputy's eyes flicked to the locksmith, then back to my parents. Do you have a court order? He asked. My father smiled like he'd been waiting for that question. My mother handed him a neatly stapled packet, official looking. Right here, she said. He glanced at the top page and his eyes paused on the case number. Not long, just long enough. His posture changed slightly. He looked at my mother. Where did you get this? He asked. The court, she replied instantly. He didn't react to her confidence. He stepped aside and made a quiet call. My mother's smile tightened. My father stared at me, daring me to flinch. The locksmith stood frozen. The deputy listened, then said only, copy. He walked back toward us, and his face was colder. Ma'am, he said to my mother, the courthouse confirms this case is under restricted hold. My mother blinked. What does that mean? It means suspected forged documents, he said. It means you don't touch this door. My father's jaw clenched. That's ridiculous. The deputy turned to him slowly. Sir, step back from the residence. My father didn't move. My mother's voice sharpened. Deputy, you don't understand. I understand enough, he cut in, calm but final. No lock change. No entry. No moving. Not today. Then he looked at the locksmith. Pack up. You're done. The locksmith didn't argue. He shoved tools into his bag fast, hands shaking. My mother went pale, real pale. Because her plan depended on one thing, getting the lock changed before the system caught up. The deputy looked at me. Do you have proof you own the property? I already had it pulled up, deed PDF, tax portal, title insurance, homeowner's policy. He nodded. Good. I'm documenting this. Then he turned to my parents. I need your IDs. My mother's lips parted. Why? His voice dropped. Because someone will answer for forged filings, he said. And if you attempt entry again, you're escalating this beyond civil. That should have ended it. It didn't. Because the deputy's radio crackled. He listened. His eyes narrowed. Then he looked back at the packet my mother had given him, and his voice changed again. This includes more than an eviction notice, he said slowly. My throat went dry. What else? He lifted the top page and read the header. A request to mark the owner as unauthorized occupant. A scheduled hearing. My mother's thin smile returned. 14 days, she murmured, like she'd won. But the deputy didn't look at her. He looked at me. We're going back to the courthouse today, he said. Today. Because if a hearing was already scheduled, especially an emergency calendar, then someone was trying to move faster than I could react. And when we got back to the civil window, The clerk recognized me immediately. She didn't ask questions this time. She took the case number and typed. The deputy leaned in. "I need to confirm whether this is valid," he said, "and whether there's attempted illegal lockout during restricted hold." The clerk's fingers moved quickly. Then she froze. She looked up and whispered, "The notice posted on her door isn't ours." My stomach dropped. "So it's fake?" She nodded. "Counterfeit posting. Wrong formatting, stamp placement off, barcode doesn't match docket prints." Elena's jaw clenched. "They taped a fake court notice to her door." The clerk swallowed. "Yes. But," she hesitated. "But what?" "The case number is real," she said quietly. My heart pounded. "Meaning?" "Someone filed something under that number," she said. "It just isn't what they posted." My throat went tight. "What did they file?" The clerk clicked deeper into a tab not visible to the public. Her face changed again. Then she lowered her voice to nearly nothing. "An emergency motion," she said. "For immediate possession." Immediate. Not 14 days. Now. "When is the hearing?" the deputy asked. The clerk turned her screen slightly so we could read without the entire lobby seeing. My stomach dropped when I saw it. "Hearing scheduled tomorrow. 9 a.m. Elena cursed under her breath. The deputy's jaw tightened. "So they threatened her with 14 days, he said, "but set a hearing for tomorrow to get a default order if she doesn't appear." The clerk nodded. "If she doesn't show, they try for default. Then they come back with paper that looks final." The deputy tapped the restricted hold note. "And it's flagged for forgery." "Yes," the clerk said. "Multiple red flags." "What kind?" the deputy asked. The clerk clicked into internal notes, inhaled slowly, then looked at me as if she hated saying it. "The notary commission listed," she said, "doesn't exist." My stomach flipped. "Fake notary." "Suspected," she corrected carefully. Then added, "and the contact email used doesn't match the plaintiff's normal trail." The deputy leaned closer. "Show me." The clerk hesitated, then printed a page and slid it under the glass, to the deputy, not me. He read it. And I watched his face tighten for a reason that had nothing to do with typical civil disputes. Because the filer account on that motion wasn't my mother. It wasn't my father. It was me. My full name. My phone number. My email. I stared like the ink might rearrange into something logical. "That's not possible," I whispered. Elena leaned in, eyes wide. "They filed under your identity." The deputy looked at me, calm but direct. "Ma'am, have you ever filed anything through this portal?" "Never," I said immediately. He nodded and turned back to the clerk. "Who manually accepted it?" The clerk clicked again. Then went still in that way that means, "I know, and it's bad." "It was manually accepted," she whispered. "By a staff login." The deputy's voice sharpened. "Which staff login?" The clerk swallowed and pointed at one line on the screen. Then she said it so quietly it felt like a confession. "A supervisor account." The deputy demanded the name. The clerk printed it. Slid it over. The deputy read it once, and his face went cold. "Okay," he said. "We're not leaving until I speak to that supervisor." From there, it stopped being my parents versus me. It became a system confronting a paper trail. And the system, for once, didn't blink.